For the players.
I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And this is For the Players, the pop culturist PlayStation podcast. Over 40 years of playing PlayStation and 6+ years in that games media combined. I'd like to thank you for joining us in this PlayStation conversation.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on those YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations, please check out all our socials. Facebook, Discord, Instagram, Twitter, all our links in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures where you can watch us record this show live. You can get in the chat, you can become part of the show. If you want to support the show, you can tell your friends, you can tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. Or Spotify, I think they have ratings as well. Or if you're on the YouTube, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, comment below. I endeavor to answer every single comment that comes our way. If you want to support us financially, you can at patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculture.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. Max. It's finally here, man. We have information. We have everything we've ever wanted about the PS5, except for having it in our hand, of course. But it has happened. We're just gonna like not get a. We'll come back later in the show about how we're doing, what we've been up to, what games we've been playing, because we've been doing that stuff, of course. However, we're gonna kick this fucker right off with some PS5. So Thursday morning at 6 a.m., Sony had a conference, a little showcase, where they showed off a handful of games, about 40 minutes, where they also announced the date, the price, everything that you need to know heading into November for the PlayStation 5. Obviously, I'm excited. You can tell by my voice. Max, how'd you go? How are you feeling?
It's nice to finally know what we're in for.
It is, isn't it?
It's you know, we're now less than 2 months out. Well, for us anyway, exactly 2 months out for the rest of the world, until we have hands on this, and we've literally only just got price pre-order details.
Yeah,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
So let's get those big things out of the way. Let's talk price. Let's talk release date. So, in Australian dollary dues, because that's what we deal with, the PS5 is coming on the 12th of November. That is 2 days after the Xbox Series S and X. That is not as late as we anticipated. Like, I wanted earlier for my birthday, selfishly, but I expected the week after. So that's good. How do you feel about that date, man? So close to the Xbox.
I think it's good. I think the majority, especially with the hyper, like everyone's expectations and hype around the new consoles, you're not going to be able to walk into a store and buy one anyway.
Yeah.
So they could release on the same day and it wouldn't matter, because people are already purchasing these through their pre-orders. They're just going in and picking them up. There's going to be no store with stock on the shelf.
Yeah, that's probably going to be the case. So I'm in the same boat as you.
So I mean, at the end of the day, like I'm stoked that it's releasing so early.
Yeah, like I'm in the same boat as you. I think it's great. Yeah, you're 100% spot on. It doesn't matter what day it's releasing on, because it doesn't matter. So they're releasing on a Thursday, which is interesting, because Thursday isn't normally the day for big releases, but it is. As you said, everyone's pre-ordered it. The only way you're ever going to get one. So if you have it or you don't, there's no rushing to the store to buy one off the shelf. Everyone will be allocated via the pre-orders. So it's coming in at two prices. Now, the disc version is coming at $750. That's $499 US, the exact same as the Xbox Series X. Then the discless version, which as we know is the exact same internals, however is missing the optical drive, $150 less. Absolutely insane. $599. That is such a staggering difference. You and I were predicting like $50, $70, something like that. Not $150.
I mean, the cost of an optical drive is not $150.
It is not. It's like 50 best.
So I think Sony saw what the S was offering at the price difference, and they're like, well, we can sell this at a bigger loss and make our revenue back with our 30% cut from every single sale.
Well, I think that's the big thing. So $150 less does sound amazing on paper. It's like, oh shit, yeah, $150, that is a lot. And for day one purchase, big, mint, you're cheaper off. However, now both you and I, we were successful. We'll tell our pre-order stories in a moment. But, you and I both pre-ordered the disc version. Which is probably the smarter choice, because looking at the potential prices of new release PS5 games, they're currently RRPing at $125 Australian. That is nuts. That is that's insane.
That's for context. That's the cost of 2 brand new games at the moment.
Yeah. So the RRP currently is $99.95. So it's $25 extra. But competitively, most in physical stores have been charging somewhere between $70 to $80. So they're understanding that they're trying to get those sales. Now, if you are owner of a digital, the digital PS5, you're at a predicament, because you will have to pay $125. You can't go price match. You can't go, find the cheapest alternative. You have to pay what the PSN is offering.
Can't buy secondhand or pre-owned. Can't lend games. Can't borrow games.
And I think that's why
it does hamstring you a little bit.
And I think that's why Sony's made that call, to make it such a staggering difference between the two, is because they're like, well, we can make our money back in no time at all. When it comes to their extra cut that they get from games, because regardless of in terms of like physical stores, right? They're going to make the same cut regardless, and it's going to be X percentage. The only thing that's being cut into when a physical store puts competition on a price is the store loses their margin. They lose a bit more of their end profits in order to presumably get more sales. So Sony just getting more money. So the $150 that you saved by going digital, you are essentially spending it in no time at all. Probably within 2 games, not even. Like it doesn't seem like that incentive is there, and that initial sticker shock might be enough to sway people. But it doesn't seem like the best decision. Now, were you swayed at all by seeing that original $599 sticker price?
Well, I always said that if there was, I think my price tag was if it's $70 or more difference, I'm probably going to go all digital. And then I instantly backflipped on that, seeing that it was a bigger discount. And I'm like, because I am one of those people who, sometimes I pick up a game on disc and it's just not for me.
Yeah.
And then and I have the option to return it if it's physical. On the PlayStation Store, I can't do that.
Oh, I completely agree.
So it's just having that insurance, essentially.
Yeah, I'm in that same boat, and that $150 sounds like a lot of insurance.
Plus, you wanted the 4K drive because you're getting rid of your Xbox, are you not?
Potentially, yeah, very likely. So, like, for me, I'm in the same boat. That $150 seems like a lot, but that is the insurance. I'm actually going to save money in the long term. I'm playing the long game here, and it'll allow me to play my 4K Blu-rays, wherever I need. So, it is worth it for me. Like the payoff in the long term is better than that short-term expenditure, and I think that's the catch. Is like if you're not at least a semi-educated consumer, you may not pick up on that straight away. But it's fine. Like you do you, but we will see some complaints come launch when they're like $125 where I can buy because right now that difference is not there unless Sony decides to charge less on the PSN and very clearly and distinctly undercut the stores, which I don't see happening. It's an interesting decision. Now, Max, you and I were very lucky. We both did secure our pre-orders. So there was a conversation I was having with friends of the show, Dash and Paul James. We had just finished watching the conference, and I was just messaging them on Facebook, just talking. And they're like, when do you think pre-orders will open? I'm like, the soonest will be midday. Today, like that, even that seems unreasonable, but midday, if not, probably tomorrow morning. And Dash is like, what if they drop it at 8 a.m. today? I'm like, are they fucking insane? Like there's no way they can do that. Because that's not enough notice. And to we've known for about a week of Xboxes, right? They're like, it's coming next week. That everyone can be planned, prepped, or whatever. But instead, no, balls to EB Games. They just went, boom, here you go. And then everyone had to follow suit. So very luckily, I got the message from Dash being like, go now. So I pulled up the EB website and I had 5 seconds left on the counter. It was like 7:59:55, and I was like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom, 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 done, locked it in. I was like fuck, Max, and like Max has got home from work. I bet you he's sleeping. Max!
So I was 100% asleep. I'd actually fallen asleep with my phone like on my face, so my face was vibrating.
Nice.
I answer it and you're just like, dude, go now. I'm like, okay. I kind of rolled over and then I realized what you said, jumped on, pre-ordered it, and then it's like, we're not going to let you use PayPal. I'm like, okay. And I can't for the life of me remember the last 3 digits of my... So I had to get up out of bed and go find my wallet. And I was lucky enough.
People are strangling.
So I had finished my whole pre-order by 8:05. Like, granted, like I did it pretty quickly. And then I messaged my people. I'm like, hey man, just to let you all know, they're up. Go, go, go. And then I went, you know what? I think I might need another controller. So I went back in and did a separate order for a second controller.
I did the exact same thing. So I got the pre-order at 8 o'clock and whatever. And then I got my shit together and went to work. So normally I need to leave for work at 8. I was like, oh, fuck. And then I'm like, oh, shit, I get ready for work now. And just run to work. And then, yeah, it was like, I don't know, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. And I'm like, let's have a... Because all I'm hearing is reports that EB Game has completely exhausted their day one allocation. I'm like, shit, that is a lot. Presumably a lot. That's a lot of pre-orders. And I'm pretty confident that... So which store did you go to? Wampons or... Wampons. Yeah, I went to Geelong because I spend a lot of time, in town, so it was easy for me to go there. So I'm pretty confident that you or I would be within the first... I'd be probably within the first 5 people at Geelong. You're probably the 10 maybe. So I'm thinking we're pretty confident that we will secure it. But yeah, later in the day, the pre-orders for the consoles have stopped. And I was like, oh shit. And then I was like, whoa, the controller. I'll just grab a controller. Couldn't get a docking station though. It's like $50.
I didn't bother with the docking station.
I think that can wait.
So I mean, my email code specifically states launch day console, whereas my friend's got a pre-order and his says late 2020, early 2021 stock. Doesn't specifically say launch, so...
Yeah, so Jem in the chat, she goes, the GameStop in America already have screwed up. A friend of mine posted about pre-ordering hers in store, and she called her manager to ask when they stopped taking them. My friend said, what do you mean allocated stock? But yeah, so look, JB are in the same boat. They're taking pre-orders non-stop. I think they may have closed now. But even then, they're just like, hey, we can't promise it. If anything, you're paying for priority queuing. But everyone's paying for priority queuing. It's not really
I know that Big W, they stopped taking pre-orders because they were allowing 2 per customer.
Oh, shit. Okay, yeah.
At $50 deposits.
Yeah.
But I think what happened with the pre-ordering of this was an absolute shit show. Because in all their conferences and all their blog spots, Sony were like, they're not going to drop same day. You are going to have notice. You are going to do this and that. And EB posted. I saw a tweet from EB Games at 7:58 a.m. saying pre-orders go live at 8 a.m. 2 minutes warning.
Yeah. Now
that is ridiculous.
I just want to add to Jem's point here. Sorry, keep going.
Sorry, and a lot of these places for the last few months, they've been taking expressions of interest. You sign up, you email. I didn't get an email saying that pre-orders went live.
The expression of interest was essentially stock allocation. That's all it was. When I remember going to EB and I asked them, I said, hey, this doesn't guarantee shit. What is it? And I'm like, is it just to help you guys allocate stock? And they went, yeah, pretty much. They were fully aware that it wasn't anything. So it's an easy way for them to have an estimation of how many consoles they're going to need. So that store, we have 4,000 expressions of interest. So they can pitch to EB head office, presumably, saying, we have this many, we need this much, we're going to need approximately this much stock. And then they can spread it out across the country either way, right? So as I was saying before the show started, I got a friend of mine who gave me some inside info around their store. So they don't work at EB, they work at a different electrical retailer. And they, as far as they know, they've been allocated three consoles. That's it. And in terms of the expression of interest, like all it did was give me a double up of the same email that everybody else got slightly earlier. And all it did was say, make sure your information's preloaded on your EB World account so you can just go did quicker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like the expression of interest really didn't do anything. It just gave you a heads up that it might, like when I got that first email, I'm like, they're going to drop soon. And then a second one came through in the afternoon.
I anticipated that they were going to drop them same time as their Xbox pre-orders. They were going to give us to Monday or whatever it was, the 22nd or the 20th, whatever it was.
To Jem's point, she goes, this is why I never pre-order. And I think that's incorrect. So when it comes to consoles, you have to fucking pre-order. Otherwise, you'll never get one. Games, I agree. Never pre-order fucking games unless you want a collector's edition. Never do it. If you pre-order the standard edition, I don't know what's wrong with you because that's dumb. There is always stacks, right? But a console, hardware you have to pre-order, especially around next generation. Like this is something you cannot get around with. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
Mm.
So that's something. So you have to pre-order them. You have to.
Well,
but like everything else, you can just fucking go to town.
This will be my first ever launch day console.
Same. Like I bought the PS3 a little bit later. PS3 like yonks later. I got it when Metal Gear Solid 4 came out. The PS4 I got way later, but not like stupid late, but I got a bit later. Yeah, and PS2 like never happened. So that means I'm just gonna go through the chat here. Let's have a square. So let's see what we got here. Puck goes, I've watched the fights break out about the sports ball bros losing their mind because they ran out of copies of Madden. Well, that's the one thing. So there's I was listening to a podcast that talked about sales right now are 37% higher for the month of August year on year. So think about it this way: the industry at large in America is 1/3 higher last month than it was the year before.
Mm.
You know what I mean? And these are a lot of people. Everyone's stuck at home. Everyone's playing games. That's kind of what they're doing, right? So like I understand that, and like they're football pros. What are you gonna do? Not punch each other? But no, this whole pre-order system is a massive joke. It's absolutely crazy. So Buddy in the chat goes, personally, I took no expression of interest in my store and told them to do it on the website so that my store didn't get hammered and people that did it actually got emailed. It is a bit of a hot mess. And it looks as if Xbox do have the right call here, but I think so, whether this was Sony's decision or EB's decision, I don't know. Because I'm pretty confident that PlayStation Australia made a tweet saying, they'll be live in however. And then even Jeff Keighley, who seems to have more information about the conference than the actual conference, comes out and says you'll have pre-orders in the next 24 hours. So very clearly there wasn't the decision to drop it, less than an hour and a half after the conference.
Mm.
Whether it was Australia that sort of kicked it in a gear and every other country had to fucking pull up, I don't know. But it does not seem to be that way. Yeah, so my kid just keeps coming in and out of the room. It's crazy. Any more thoughts on the pre-ordering side of things before we start going into the conference itself?
Apart from the fact that it was a hot garbage mess, no.
Yeah, but it's this interesting situation. Like,
I mean, congratulations to all those who won their console, and for all those who didn't, I guess I hope you get them as soon as you can get them.
It's a weird part because part of me is like, it sucks for everybody else. So
and then there's all those people selling their pre-orders on eBay for upwards of $20,000, just flexing that they got one.
Mm. So look, that is that personal thing for me, right? Like I understand that it sucks, and it sucks for many people. But people that want day one shipments are the hardcore, right? And the hardcore are the ones that were up and they're watching the presentation and they're following it afterwards. And, if anything, we've been rewarded for being that hardcore audience. And I think it should be that way. Like, there is other line of like, I made the joke to you, like, all the big hardcore nerds that sleep till 4 in the afternoon and go to bed at 2. You know what I mean? Like, well, they missed out.
Well, Noodle nearly missed out.
Yeah.
He had to pre-order his some random place. One of my mates completely missed out because he literally went to bed at 8 o'clock in the morning. Like, 2 minutes before I put in our chat that they were live, he'd fallen
Was
asleep.
he up all night?
Yeah.
Fucking his fault. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. It's like I understand. Like in that exact same comment, I'm like, well, like we're the hardest of the hardcore, but the hardcore gamer that stays up all night playing games got shafted, and I'm kind of like, I don't know, fuck him. Like it's this weird stance, and I shouldn't have that stance because it is like an odd entitlement on my end. You know what I mean?
But I mean, this pre-order mess isn't as bad as the 30 series NVIDIA GPUs going on at the moment.
Sorry?
The pre-orders for the new 30 series cards, the new NVIDIA GPUs.
Yeah, apparently
the pre-orders for those they were sold out within minutes.
Yeah, apparently with
everywhere.
N-Wave they had to raffle it. We've got Willow in the chat. We've got Real Dave Brown, PlayStation collector extraordinaire. Real Dave Brown, how are you, Dave? I haven't seen you around these parts in yonks. Buddy also adds, supposed to start work later and ran off straight after morning podcast and got there early enough to sort it out. And look, that's certainly true. My statement is an assumption, and it is me just being like, but 100%. If you start work at midday, if you start work at 1, you're not going to be up then. You know what I mean? So like, I shouldn't be shitting on like the stereotype of a gamer. Like I'm lucky. I happen to be up to make content. I was up and I had to go to work. So I happened just to be in that right category of people.
I mean, I had just knocked off work and I was asleep. If you hadn't have called me, I 100% would have missed out.
Exactly.
Like, there was no way I was getting one.
Yeah. Which is interesting, because the same argument I have about gamers staying up all night being butts, and you're like, well, I work all night, mate. Isn't that the same? Like, it's kind of the same. Let's see. So Willow in the chat. So I got lucky, and I think I got one for the last few launch day pre-orders. Very lucky. But yeah, and Buddy goes, thankfully Microsoft doing it right, and I cannot argue that at all. Microsoft have got the right decision here. They've got the right idea, giving enough notice so everyone can plan, be prepared, and whatever. And also I do wonder whether the $200 deposit down payment for EB Games may have swayed that. Maybe they knew they were going to get less traction if they were posting $200 deposits. But I guarantee they didn't stop anyone, though.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we got that out of the way. Let's get into the actual conference itself, Max. Let's talk about what was shown and in what order. Kick it off.
So, they kicked the show off with Final Fantasy 16. This started with a disclaimer stating that it was PC footage emulating PlayStation 5. It was announced that it was a console exclusive with no release date or window. Now, when I first saw this, I actually thought it was going to be a remake of The Last Remnant.
Yeah.
Because the guys look so similar. And then I kind of went, oh yeah. And cause I was at work at the time, I kind of put my phone back in my pocket and went back to work. And then all I hear in my ear is, oh my god, they're riding chocobos! And I quickly put my phone back out.
If it wasn't for those chocobos, I wouldn't have picked it. I was like, I don't know what this is. Let's see what... it's fantasy. It's looking... And the first thing I noticed was the lip sync was out. I'm like, this looks kind of poo. Why is the lip sync not working? And then because it's a Japanese game. And like, Final Fantasy's never had good lip sync. Because they make it vague, so it fits all... languages. So
Square Enix have confirmed that they will be giving or sharing more information about Final Fantasy 16 in 2021. And rumor has it's not as far out as we all think, because I jokingly said to you, well, we'll see this in about 6 years' time. Because Square are notorious for showing us stuff and then not doing anything with it for years. So it's nice to know, well, if the rumors are true, that it could be sooner than we think. Especially if they're going to share some more information in 2021.
Yeah. Now, as the Final Fantasy lover of the two of us, you've got it tattooed on your arm and shit. Is this doing all the things for you?
I mean, I've always told you straight away. I am a sucker for Square games, especially the Final Fantasy series. This had me straight away.
Yeah. Look, I'll admit it that I'm on the record of poo-pooing Final Fantasy whenever I can, because it's not for me. It's not a Betson game in any sense of the word. But having this be like more fantasy kind of made me interested as my camera.
It kind of looked darker and more gritty than what the others have looked like.
Yeah,
and it looked like the combat's similar to that of what 15 was. So there will be a lot of people that probably aren't as warm to it as the hardcore fans, because that was more of an action style game similar to that of Kingdom Hearts, for example, than what
In the chat, they're just throwing different years. We've got 2025, 2035, 2049. It's all starring Harrison Ford. I don't know what's going on in chat. Chat's having a blast.
It's coming out in Dash Baby Toy. It's coming out in 2077. It's going to be playable inside Cyberpunk.
They finally release at the same time.
This checked all my boxes. I'm always a big sucker. This is one that I will be looking forward to.
Yeah, look, it looks interesting enough. I saw the big demon. I'm like, oh, it kind of looks like Efrit, because that's the one thing I remember from like Final Fantasy VIII on Black on PS1. Whether it is or not, I don't fucking know. It's the only thing I connected it to. But look, I'm not gonna play. I might play it if it comes our way. I might play it. But there are some things that were pointed out that I didn't really consider, because not knowing Final Fantasy, is apparently the battles look a lot more one-on-one rather than sort of team-based. This was an observation that I believe Buddy made on guest appearance on the Explosion Network. I was like, oh, I never considered that. Because it's just, I don't know. Like, does that change anything to you? Because isn't 15 very group-driven?
Yeah, not necessarily. It was just the way the combat flowed. So it wasn't turn-based anymore. It was more of an action, similar to that of the new Final Fantasy VII Remake. Yeah.
Not bad. Next up was Spider-Man Miles Morales. This time they showed more gameplay and essentially... They back-ended the trailer with the same holiday 2020, which we knew it's a launch title. We know that's coming. But I don't know why they didn't put it there. They should have just said launch date or launch something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they could have just said launch title as opposed to
what I thought.
Yeah, I think launch title would have been fine at the end of it as opposed to holiday 2020.
Well, because I understand they're not going to be like November 12th and just like broadcast it.
Obviously, I'm putting. Well, that was the other thing that we spoke about, because it's only coming to some countries on the 12th, and the rest of the world get the console on the 19th. We were like, does that mean all their launch titles will be pushed to the 19th?
Apparently, it's staggered release. So yeah.
Yeah.
So on the 12th, it's like the US, Australia, New Zealand.
I've got it written
pretty much just not
here.
Europe.
Yeah, so it was US, Japan, Mexico, Australia, New Zealand, and South Korea.
So the big buyers, yeah.
And then everywhere else got it. Yeah, we'll be getting it on the 19th.
Yeah, so in terms of gameplay, we see Miles Morales sort of in a little street market, surrounded by like Puerto Rican flags and stuff. So, for many that are Puerto Rican, it's pretty mad for them, I imagine. We see the Tinkerer. He looks to be a villain in this. Whether he's the big bad, who knows? Because we thought Mr. Negative was the big bad in Spider-Man, but it turns out he wasn't. So he might be obviously this being a expansion, not a full-fledged game, he may still just be the big bad. We see a battle on a bridge. All we see is the MCU's further disregard for bridges. I don't know what it is for fucking comic book movies or Marvel. It's just no one fucking likes bridges. And these bridges get fucked up so bad. A couple of things that I noticed, and then because I noticed them at the time, but I didn't really think about it until later on. There is a change. There is a couple more dudes on screen than normally. It is a bit more fluid. It's a bit more visceral. It was pointed out that there's like a nice hip hop beat at the back there, which I didn't pick up the first time I watched it. Watching it again, I was like, oh yeah, no, there it is. So they're really stylistically trying to separate it from Peter Parker's Spider-Man, which had that more of that orchestral sort of sound behind it. Where here they're going around that sort of hip hop bass that we saw in what's this multiverse Spider-Man movie, which I can't think of right now. What's it called?
Enter the Spider-Verse.
Enter the Spider-Verse. Thank you. Which had an amazing soundtrack.
One of the greatest Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
If not the best.
And we're seeing a lot of neon. We're seeing a lot of neon and black contrast. So we're going to really see what HDR and ray tracing can do. A lot of electric powers and stuff like that. So essentially showing off what it was going to do. Now, we mentioned it on the stream as well, that I got a lot of Infamous First Light vibes from it, especially with that neon. How did you think of this gameplay?
It was nice to see some new stuff. I think you're right. They're definitely trying to separate it from that of Peter Parker Spider-Man by doing the contrast, all the neon lights. It is reminiscent of that Into the Spider-Verse universe. Miles himself is a cool character. I'm very much looking forward to playing this. It'll be interesting to see how much of a, quote, shorter experience it is. Because they did announce that they are fully remaking Marvel's Spider-Man for the PS5.
Yeah, so apparently there's two versions of these Miles Morales DLC. It's the Ultimate Edition, which comes with the base game quote unquote, and this expansion, or this expansion standalone. So both options will be available on launch, and yeah, I think there's a reason that's being done compared to not being put in something that's the back end of the show, and we'll talk about that when we get there. But yeah,
Next up,
I'm keen. Spider-Man was good. I haven't finished DLC yet, but it's on my list. I've got 1.5 DLCs to go, so I'll be ready to rock and roll come November. Let me tell you that.
Next up, we saw what surprised me.
Yeah,
Hogwarts Legacy. So we got a nice cinematic trailer for this. Shows that the game is set in the 1800s, so it's going to take place before the Harry Potter series. And it showed us a release date of 2021.
Yeah, so it's that long-rumored, long leaked Harry Potter game. It's made by Avalanche, so that's the guys that did all the like Disney Infinity sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Not the Avalanche that worked on Rage with Bethesda. Completely different studio, but this is it's cool. Like, this looks great. Having it set in the 1800s makes, why there's no cell phones, while there's no iPads, like they put it in a time where magic really kind of suits. And although the Hogwarts, I think, has been around since like the 1600s, if I remember my Harry Potter lore right, it's like it's a good time. There's no characters. Very likely there'll be no characters that so they're completely almost, pushing aside Harry Potter as we know it.
I mean, I would imagine that you'll get some cameo of family names.
Yeah.
But you won't see any characters that you know. There's some more news about this later in the news as well.
Yeah, so obviously, look, we don't want to get political or whatever, but there is a lot of discussion around this with J.K. Rowling, because she's in fact a garbage person. I'll leave those thoughts and comments elsewhere. I do wonder whether something can be separated from the game. Who knows? But I imagine we'll hear a lot about that, especially coming to launch. But separate from that, I was honestly very excited to see this trailer. It looks up my alley. I love Harry Potter. It holds a very special place in my heart from a very special time in my life. And I do have to weigh up that situation. Like, can I separate the two? Look, I'll be shameless. I probably can. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, it's cool to finally have it. I get to finally be. I don't want to be a fucking Gryffindor or nothing. That's for those. I'm Hufflepuff all the way, my friend. I mean, that's where I'm going to be at. Going to be in my house. Going to make myself. It's going to be cool. But then, it's one of those things like, this is awesome, with that horrible niggling feeling in the back of your head. Now, your wife's a big Harry Potter fan, yeah?
No, not at all.
Not at all. What she was? Oh, you were.
I just recently made her watch all of them. I bought the collector's edition 4K box.
Yeah.
And we sat there and watched one a day for 8 days or 9 days, however many there are. Yeah, no, I'm super keen on this. I mean, I just reread the books. Despite all the WB released a statement saying that she has nothing to do with this.
Yeah, but she still owns. She's the creator of it all. She's still connected.
Yeah, of course. So, there will be some people who will be like, I'm not buying this game because of this. I'll buy it secondhand so that she sees none of the profits from it. I also think that it is, if that's your stance, then that is perfectly fine. You're entitled to do what you feel. But I also think that the people who worked on this game deserve to have their work looked at and appreciated.
Yeah.
So, you're not just, by not buying it, you're not really hurting her. You're just hurting the people that worked on this game, and they do deserve to have their work looked at and appreciated.
Yeah, well, I'm sure when they started the project, they didn't know it was going to go this way. So there's that as well. Next up was Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War. We saw.
I'm so glad you got that from just my string of letters.
Yeah, the acronym is pretty bonkers for Call of Duty now. So they showed more of the same stuff. They showed about essentially the back end of the first mission of the game. They announced a playable alpha, which is live right now, which you and I played a little bit before. But we'll get to our sort of what our thoughts on that a little bit later. You can use people as human shields. You can knife a guy, then shoot him in case the knife was insufficient. It felt like Call of Duty, but also felt like Fast and Furious on the longest fucking runway ever, and an RC car that can go 180 miles an hour apparently. It looked like Call of Duty.
Yeah, I mean, if you're one of those people who buys Call of Duty every year, you're gonna buy this one anyway. This one being a Raven Treyarch team up.
So shout out for Raven getting the big splash at the start, of course, because they worked on the campaign where Treyarch are working on the multi. So because they're showing campaign here, they got the big blast. So shout out to Raven.
So I mean, this is an easy buy for me because I'm a sucker for some zombies gameplay.
Yep.
And Treyarch do it the best.
Yeah, look, it looks alright. It looks like Call of Duty. It has a feel of old Call of Duty, if that makes sense. So like. When you looked at like Modern Warfare, the recent Modern Warfare, the campaign felt different. It felt like they've actually swung in a different way, in a different part. Where this feels like, hey, remember the Call of Duties you used to love, like where it's just fucking explosions and unnecessary set pieces. That's what it felt like here. And whether the whole campaign is going to be this, like I don't know, but it's certainly not poo-pooing what Raven can or will be doing. But it's just more of what my expectations would be coming into this. And I always like, oh, I'm never going to buy it. And then I end up getting it anyway. So fuck them, who cares? They obviously don't care about me. I'm just going to buy it. But, you know, like, it looks cool. I'll probably play it. Like, I always enjoy the campaigns eventually about like 6 months later when I finally go through it.
I'll let you take the next one as well.
Oh, yeah. Resident Evil Village was next. It was once again another more cinematic trailer. The sections had a real Tim Burton. So there was a section where it had like a Coraline sort of feel to it.
Pretty sure that was Tim Burton, right?
Yeah, Tim Burton.
Was it? Did Tim Burton do Coraline?
Maybe. Either way, but it did have that Tim Burton-esque feel to it mixed with Coraline. Pretty sure he did. But yeah, and they also doubled down on 2021, which is great. Because that's it's a weird. I'm gonna say presumably it's January. Like we've seen 2021. So we've seen the last one, 2, 3. It wasn't okay. The last 3 iterations of Resident Evil have all come out in January, and I can't. Apart from what backends this showcase, I feel everything will be within the first 6 months, ideally. So I'm gonna say this is probably Q1 next year, and I'm excited. It looks fantastic. Everyone knows how I've shifted from my Silent Hill love to my Resident Evil love, starting with 2 and then 2, 3, and then give me this so hard. It's littered with Resident Evil 4 vibes. I'm feeling it. I love Resident Evil 4 back on the PS2. Get it in my face. I want it. I want to play it. I want to see how they essentially rewrite 4. Because we know the 4 remake's coming. I want to see how they're going to rewrite this to fit this new timeline they've created with the remakes. That's what I want to see. Because 7 was a soft reboot, and they're sort of rewriting it to go down a different path to make them a bit more coherent. Oh, give it to me. What are you, Max?
Yeah, I mean, Capcom have been killing it with the Resident Evil titles lately, and this looks like it's going to be an absolute must-grab for any fan. It looks great.
I want it. The thing that I have most questions about is how are there werewolves? We know the T virus makes zombies. Is this the W virus? This makes werewolves. Like how are they going to do it? That's what's got me excited. That's what's got my attention here personally. Like the whole aesthetic is cool. At the end of the trailer, you see the "What are you buying?" guy, and then I got all excited again because that guy always made me chuckle. If anything, I've made me pull 4 out again. 4 is on the shelf under there, and I want to play it again. Right now, I'm playing Ratchet and Clank, but when I'm done, I'm gonna jump on Resi 4. I'm feeling
next up we had Deathloop. So we got some more gameplay footage for that game, and we got their new release window after its delay, so it's now set to drop Q2 2021. This game looks very much like an arcade game.
Yeah, it looks like so. They're implying sort of roguelike aspects to it, but they've committed, not really said that. So the idea is you've got 8 targets you need to take out in one 24-hour window of the game in terms of a game day. But if you die, it starts the day again. So I do wonder whether, like, if you take out 4 of them and then die, how are you going to go about getting 4? Like, are you starting from the start again? Or is there some sort of like, I mean, like, what's the situation from A to B? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to open up paths? Are you going to like create little easier ways so you're not getting kicked in the dick every time? Because I guarantee you, like, as someone that I love the idea of roguelites, but I suck at them because I really hate that random nature to it, which is entirely the idea of a roguelite. But you know what I mean? Like, cause feel like with being different every time, I'm like, well, where am I learning? What am I getting? Where's my progression? But I'm probably playing and looking at them wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on if they are like randomly generated areas as to where the people that you need, your targets are dropped and whatnot. So, you know, you might be able to learn as you progress if it doesn't if it doesn't have that randomness to it. I guess, and especially if you like, and I mean, you know, because you could kill 4 of the targets and then run out of time, and then it will reset you back to the start, and you're like, well, I know how to get these guys now. I'm going to be able to do it faster, therefore giving me more time to get to the rest of the people. So it'll be interesting to see when it actually comes out, how it all works, or when they drop some more information on the title. That's
a good point. So Dash in the chat mentioned the trailer was 10 minutes too long. It was. I feel there was an obligation here for them to put it up. Pardon me, especially that it is a console exclusive with the PlayStation. I imagine that's a big part of why we saw so much of it. Probably the only really big reason. Next up was the Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. They did show some gameplay of it. They showed like another version of Dante and some other character that wasn't in the game but now is. Devil May Cry has never been my franchise. I saw this one and it looked mad at the time when it released at the start of the year, but I didn't have time for it, so I didn't jump on it. And then I just didn't touch it. What about you, Max? What's your thoughts on this?
I've played every single Devil May Cry that's ever come out. It's one of my favorite hack and slash titles, and I'm pretty keen to see it get some love and to come back to PS5. I think I'll definitely pick this up.
Yeah. Well, look,
I'm a huge fan of Devil May Cry stuff.
Yeah, well, it's one of those things like with 2 Capcom games here, and like, I'll take the Resi. Like, I'll take that hit. I'll take Resi. You can take Devil May Cry.
Oh, hang on. It's not like they're even remotely coming out at the same time.
No, that's very, very true. Next up was Oddworld Soulstorm. It's probably the only quote unquote independent game in the showcase. With a bit more gameplay, a bit more cinematic, but no release date. I think the big reason that this is here is because of that connection that Oddworld has to PlayStation. Like when I think of Oddworld, of Oddworld Abe's Odyssey, I think of PS1. I know it's on everything, and eventually with the new and tasty, it eventually made its way to everything. But to me, that series is so intrinsically connected to PlayStation, it would be weird if it wasn't shown here. Oh, and Dash confirms Virgil was the other character in Devil May Cry 5 that's in there that wasn't before. I don't know who that is. Do you know who that is?
It's Dante's brother.
Oh, cool. Go Dante's brother. But one thing I discussed during the live stream was with Oddworld is a game that I can't handle. Because
I love Oddworld.
I try to save every dude, and the game is designed for you to not save every dude, but I can't. It hurts me. I actually hurt it in my chest when I get to a level I didn't save everyone. So I don't know how I'm gonna have to break that, but yeah. So I don't know. I may give it a go, but
next up we got Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach. This was an interesting. It was a cinematic trailer, and I believe there was no release window at the back end of the show. What were your thoughts on this?
I was watching. I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I saw like a cartoony rabbit thing. I'm like, I bet this is Five Nights at Freddy's. And then they show Freddy Fazbear in the middle as a big statue. And I'm like, yep, I'm out. Like, I just can't.
Yeah, I kind of tuned out as well, I must admit.
It's a weird situation. Like I understand that there is an appeal for Five Nights at Freddy's. I don't think there's been an appeal for a while, and I do wonder whether this game is going to be a change to the series, because the series is designed about you being in a room and then you interacting, because it began as a mobile
Yeah.
game, right? So I do wonder where they're going to take, because this looks like a larger cityscape. This looks like not just a restaurant where you would normally be in. Like, looks like they've expanded on what on FNAF.
Maybe they're a theme park now, not just a restaurant.
Yeah, maybe they're sort of bumping it up, getting a bit more 3D adventure-y. It might be a step for the future. I don't give a fuck about it. I'm sure someone was like, ah, wasn't me. One that I actually, no, fuck it. You can take this one, Max. It's all you.
Next up, we got some Demon's Souls Remake gameplay trailer stuff. Now, I have been waiting for this for so long. I first played this right as they closed off the servers on PS3. So I got I didn't get the multiplayer experience of this game. So I am very much looking forward to the new, much prettier version of Demon's Souls. It looks great. Obviously, the issues that these games have had across PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4, being like, obviously the Demon's Souls, then your Dark Souls series, and even to an extent Bloodborne, they suffer from issues with frame rates.
Yeah. Now,
hopefully, being on this nice, powerful console, we're not going to have that issue, and it's going to run. It's the dream scenario is to see it, running. The one thing that I really wish we did see, or I really wish they showed us in the trailer is, they give you a set, they showed gameplay and they had the character die on screen, and you got the fade to black with the "you died," and unfortunately it did not kick back in and show us how quickly it puts you back in the game after you died. And I really wish they had have done that. I wonder if that was a deliberate choice to not put that in. That's just the cynic in me, I guess, because after Bloodborne's ridiculous 20-minute load times after you died, I'm hoping that, with this new super fast solid state drive that they've been touting, it's almost instant. It gets you back in there straight away.
You'd want to hope so, but even then, one thing they did show that was different is in the Souls series, when you're transitioning from areas, you have that clouded door and it loads you into this next area.
The fog doors.
Yeah, previously we're looking at 20 seconds worth of loading time, where here it was like 1 second. Not even. It's like, boop, and you just kind of walk through it. It's almost like, why do they need to keep it separated? But I guess it's part of the game.
Yeah. And this obviously is also a launch title.
That's mad.
Yeah, so that's all that I'm going to be playing.
Yeah. So
until Cyberpunk comes out the next week.
I love the idea of the Souls games, but I suck. I am horrid at them, and I don't think I'll ever actively be good at them. So I'll be like, yeah, I'll give it a burl, and then I'll hate it. I'll fucking hate it.
It is definitely an acquired taste. It is definitely an acquired taste.
Because I loved Bloodborne. I just wasn't very good at it. Stylistically, thematically, I loved it. And I just kept getting fucked all the time. I also didn't know how to spec my character properly, which probably.
And then last but not least, to wrap up the show, Fortnite. Coming to PS5 at launch.
That's what it felt like. It felt like Demon's Souls is this big fuck off. Yeah, Demon's Souls. We're going to end it with Demon's Souls. Because we had 5 minutes left. I'm like, how are they going to put everything in 5 minutes? And they're like, Fortnite. I'm like, you don't back end a fucking showcase right before they announce all the details with fucking Fortnite. But this makes sense. Fortnite's the biggest game fucking ever. Sony own a stake in Epic, so it's within their invested interest to showcase the title and show that it's coming to PS5 at launch. But the next thing that's very exciting, Max, is they announced the PlayStation Plus collection. It is something that is coming to everyone that is a PS Plus subscriber for the PS5, where they'll give you a selection of PS4 titles at no cost. Think about it like the instant Vita collection on the Vita. Sort of as that console started to die, they kind of reopened up all the PS Plus games for a little while. And these games include Batman Arkham Knight, Battlefield 1, Bloodborne, Days Gone, Detroit Become Human, Fallout 4, Final Fantasy 15, God of War, Infamous Second Son, The Last Guardian, The Last of Us Remastered, Monster Hunter World, Mortal Kombat 10, Persona 5, Ratchet and Clank, Resi 7, Uncharted 4, and Until Dawn. Now, that is a big hitting list of games there.
Across a lot of genres, too. Like, it's
yeah.
not just...
And one thing you'll notice as well, a lot of, like, there's obviously first-party big hitters in there. A lot of third-party or second-parties. Like, obviously, Batman is third-party with Warner Bros. It's previously been on PS Plus. Battlefield 1's an interesting choice. Obviously, they've leveraged their connections with Bethesda for Fallout. Persona is huge. One of the highest-rated game on the PlayStation 4, sorry. So that's a big get. A lot of them, like Ratchet and Clank, there's a new one coming out. So for those that may not have given it a whirl, this is a good step in that right direction. Same as Resi 7 with Resi 8 right around the corner. Get them across that line.
It's interesting that there's no Horizon on that list.
And there's no Spider-Man either.
Well, Spider-Man kind of makes sense because they were planning on...
Because that presumed bundle with Miles Morales, right? And Horizon may be the same. They may release a bundle later on, so they're not giving it away just yet. Now, in the chat, Dash mentions the PlayStation Game Pass. I disagree. I don't think it's in the same space. I think they're essentially just trying to forward sell you games. Now, if this was PlayStation Games Pass, then they would do the idea of, here's all the games are coming to this. No, this is a selection of games. It's just there, and I don't see them expanding on it. I don't see them increasing it. It's just a little goodie bag at the start. It's like, here's a little pack of games that you may want to check out if you didn't have a PS4, or some games to tide you over while everything gets delayed.
Yeah, I think it's more of a so for people who are new to the Sony platform, here's a bunch of the best PS4 games, or alternatively, you've just spent $600. You might not be able to afford another $100 game. Here's a bunch of games to play until next payday.
Yeah, it is to sort of incentivize PS Plus and bring it across. You know what I mean? It's like, on paper it seems really good, but personally, like, just looking at it, I don't see it being this big shift. It's essentially like it's your day one bundle. It's what it is. Like previously,
I mean, not to mention, I own almost all of these games.
Let me have a look. So I played Batman. I played I haven't played Final Fantasy 15, obviously, because I don't give a fuck. But I have played everything on that list. Days
Gone is the only one I haven't played on that list.
Days Gone's great. It's pretty good. Like it's the one, like, so for us is that as I referenced at the start of the that core audience, it's not for us. We've played these games. You know what I mean? So, but it is that it's bringing people over. It's giving you something on day one. That's what they're trying to do. But I think they understand that it's under the world circumstance and with the idea of Games Pass kicking them in the asshole. They needed something to sort of show that customer facing at the beginning. They're giving you a bunch of freebies that kind of aren't freebies because they own the rights anyway. And a lot of them are all like old games. They're already classics if they're not already. As that said, it's not a bad. It's 100% a good incentive. But I do think the narrative that this is PlayStation's Games Pass is wrong. I don't see it being that at all. Because I don't see it being worked on. I don't see it being changed. And Games Pass is what Xbox are leveraging right now. This is not that. And then finally, did you have something to add before we went into the final?
No, you go for it.
And finally, we got a teaser for what is presumably God of War Ragnarok. They showed the Omega symbol with the runes on it in an ice blue. They showed Ragnarok in the font, and it's coming 2021. If you watch the stream, you will see a grown man cry. I love God of War. Like, as we wrap up the end of this generation, it is unquestionably the game of the generation for me. I love this game with every part of my being. So, to know that a sequel is coming and that it's right around the corner is baffling to me, but also incredibly exciting. You know, I want to see where this goes. Like, I can't stress how much I love this game. I love the connection between Atreus and Kratos. Like, this fatherly connection. I want to see where that goes, because they end the game and they're father and son rather than just, you know, the father figure and boy. Like, you know, man, I want to see where that goes. I want to see where that takes it. And then on top of that, the idea of Ragnarok, it's the end of fucking days in Norse mythology. And if you have a minor understanding of what that means, it's fucking huge. We're going to see the big bad Norse gods. We are going to see, presumably, you know, spoilers for anyone that may know Nordic history, Loki is oh, that's a big spoiler. Loki is a big part of what brings Ragnarok. And there's sacrifices that have to be made to bring into that storyline. There's a lot here. And granted, I'm adding a lot more to what this trailer offered. And I'm aware that my excitement is complete hype and complete bias. And I've got those tinted glasses on. I've got those blinders. And I'm not arguing that at all. I fucking want this. And where is it coming in 2021? Fucked if I know. You know, presumably everything within, as I said, everything within the first 6 months. It could be. This could be the E3 game next year. It could be. I don't know. Max?
Yeah. Okay, so my love for this game is not as great as yours, obviously. You had a very personal connection with it.
Very much so.
At the time, your father playing this game. I'm also a bit... Is 2021 too early?
I don't think so.
Because when did this come out? It came out, what, 2018?
2018, yep.
Yeah. So they would have had a period, they would have had a break period, I would imagine. Do you reckon 2 years is long enough? Or 2.5 years? 3 years is long enough
by watching the documentary Finding Kratos, right, which is available on YouTube for free, you see what a lot of the issues and a lot of the hesitations were in that creation process, and a lot of it was spent on getting it right. And they had started writing the script, crashed it. They rewrote the script, crashed it. Like, a lot of the time that it took to get to where they are now were creative reasons, not technical reasons. Now, granted, they also said that Shuhei said like it wasn't until like the last week that it got really good as they started bringing things together. And I think they have the base. I think they have the framework. They have the world. They have all these realms. Yeah, you probably end up returning to a lot of the realms you've already seen, presumably. But like, there's enough here to build on that, to establish that further, right? Same as like Spider-Man would be in the same bracket. Like, they've built New York. What else are they going to add? They just add more into New York. And here, like, they've built the realms. Granted, there's 3 or 4 realms that we haven't seen that weren't available in the game, but they can build them. They can expand on them. The base is here. We saw, you know, the 9 realms? We saw like fucking 4 of them. Like, we've seen only half of what the game has to offer. You know, I think it's very idealistic to have it come in 2021. It may not. It'll probably be delayed. And I think that's why they said 2021, not you know, June. Like, it could come November of next year for all we know. But like, it's something exciting to look forward to in the PS5 space. You know, it's what's got me excited. You know, as I talk about, like, I'm very cynical. Like, I've been doing this long enough to be pretty cynical when it comes to games. I don't get super hyped anymore. It just doesn't happen. You can't be, you know, independently covering games for 6 years and not have some sort of cynicism. But this got me. Like, this made my heart flutter. You know, was it the Grinch? It made my heart grow 2 sizes that day. And that's what it was, because I guess, as you said, I have such a personal connection to this game. I think they could do it. I hope they can do it. You know, I have a lot of faith in Santa Monica and Cory Barlog and the team. We said there's been some shuffles around there recently as well. Rose-tinted glasses. Fuck yeah, they can do it. Why not? What's the worst that can happen, right? Mm-hmm. I think there's enough framework. The bones are there. Even some of the meat's there. It's just adding some extra clothing on top of it.
Fair enough.
And that's it. That was the whole showcase. It only took us an hour and like 5 minutes, but we got there.
I know, right?
It's all good.
So
it's gonna be a long show. It's fine. Before we get into that, though, before we get into the extra, let's discuss the showcase as a whole, Max. Now, upon reflection, we've broken it down bit by bit. What was the show? What was the highlight? What was the low light? do you think this was a banger showcase? Because granted, we're recording this 3 days after the showcase happened. Now, I did that intentionally. I made the decision for us to record as a normal time slot and to go up on a normal day because I wanted to ponder. I wanted to reflect. I wanted to see more news happen before we got to our decision. With that 3 days of reflection, Max, where do you sit?
I don't think it was a banger, quote unquote. I think it served its purpose well. It was obviously designed to be this is as the the announcement for the release date, the announcement for the price. Here's just a second look at some of the things that you're going to be able to play the day that it comes out. There was, apart from the Harry Potter and the from the Hogwarts Legacy and the Final Fantasy 16, there wasn't anything we hadn't already seen. It's fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat.
Like there was not I really enjoyed seeing the likes of Demon Souls. I being a massive Final Fantasy fan, I was hugely excited to see that. But there was nothing really that we hadn't already seen or that we didn't already know about that really got announced.
Yeah.
So I think they were just reiterating what we'd already known.
Yeah. So I'm in the same boat. It was fine. It was good. It as you said, it served its purpose. It did exactly what it needed to do. It needed to tell you the price and the date and what games you can expect at launch and launch window. And that's exactly what they did. And they did make the cognitive decision to showcase what would sell the system, like the big shotgun approach, right? They showed Five Nights at Freddy's, they showed Fortnite, that's a big demographic over there. They showed Call of Duty, that's another big demographic over there. They showed a big hitter like Call of Duty, like God of War, something that is something coming later on for those that are big hardcore fans. The only thing was missing was a sports game. That was it, and they kind of hit every other window. Like Final Fantasy 16 will likely sell units to people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, people bought PS3s expecting Final Fantasy 15, and it came in PS4. You know what I mean? Like, there was... people. That's the expectation around there. Now, Harry Potter's a big one. They said that's probably the biggest surprise out of the lot. Other than that, there wasn't really anything we hadn't seen. The Resident Evil 7 gameplay, the trailer, as much as I was excited, much as I love it, the hurdle there for me is that I don't know why it was there. Unless there was some agreement with Capcom.
Show. Yeah, well, Capcom announced that it was going to be shown at Tokyo Game Show. Which is
like you and I speculated when I said it's probably not going to be there. Why would it need to be there? And I still stand by that point. I don't understand why it needed to be there, because it didn't show us anything new. It didn't show us anything groundbreaking. You know what I mean? So like I came out of it, as I said, when I finished the showcase, I was fucking buzzed. And that's because it started strong and it back-ended strong. And I really wanted to give it that time for me to, like, process and take it in, you know what I mean? Like, really think about it. Because, like, initial reactions are always hot. They're always good, primarily. They're either on either scale of that spectrum. You either loved it or you fucking hated it. I wanted to get a bit of nuance in there, a little bit of grey, and I think that's kind of where we're standing. Like, it hit everything it needed to, but it didn't, like, go down that line. That's fine. Let us know what your thoughts on the PS5 showcase were. Chuck them in the comments below or in the chat right now if you're there. There's a discussion about pizza going on in the chat right now. It's good old times. Now, there was some more information that did come out post the showcase. A lot of it, as I said, on Jeff Keighley's fucking Twitter handle. He had a lot more inside info than the showcase, which was awesome. Let's go, Max. Bring it through.
So, in other Sony news, we have, coming from an interview with Famitsu, Sony chief Jim Ryan was asked directly about legacy backwards compatibility, so the ability to play PlayStation 1, 2, and 3 games. Jim Ryan reiterated that the company's next-gen console will play 99% of PlayStation 4 titles, but it, quote, couldn't reach the implementation of backwards compatibility for its older home consoles. Surprising no one. I don't think anyone really expected to be able to...
There are some people that did, man, and there'll be some people that'll be pissy. Like, why would you want to... Like, it's that weird line, right? I'm pro backwards compatibility as a, for those that want it, right? But, like... The demand that you must be able to play everything prior makes no sense. Like, I have a console that can run 4K, 60 frames per second, presumably. Why would I want to pay something that's 480p? It runs at 12. Like, why? Like, why should that console be forced to that? Even PC, for its ability to play everything, you can't go back and play shit you played in 1995 on DOS without intentionally going and getting like a DOS box or whatever, right? It's not possible. You cannot do that. You cannot have that expectation. You know, the visual fidelity alone is like 16 times better. It's an unreasonable request.
Jim Ryan also speaks about the continued support for the PlayStation 4 in an interview with GamesIndustry.biz. Quote, "We have the PS4 community, which is going to be incredibly important to us for many years to come. It will be tens of millions strong, and we've never been closer to them than this year. We intend to keep that going and to love and respect the PlayStation 4 community, while at the same time recognizing that millions of gamers are ready to and want to move into a world of game experiences that are only available or only possible on PlayStation 5. So this comes with the announcement that Horizon Forbidden West and I think it was Miles Morales is both coming to PlayStation 4.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
But the PlayStation 5 titles, the PlayStation 5 versions of those games were built from the ground up. They are not some upper-edged port of the PlayStation 4 version. They were designed and developed separately.
Yeah, so Forbidden West was originally supposed to be a PS4 game. Like, it was built to be a PS4 game, and it looks like it's being moved to PS5. So it makes sense. And it's this weird situation. Like, I guarantee under the pandemic situations, they may not have made this decision. But once again, you don't want to leave 110 million console owners in the back. You know what I mean? Like, you don't want to do that. So I understand that it's like, hey, if you couldn't afford a PS5, we know we don't have as many units as we wanted. We know that money's tight. You can still play these games moving forward. Which does kind of, you know, depending on how you look at it, you can be like, well, why would I want a PS5? But it's the same stance about Xbox. You know what I mean? Like, why would I want an Xbox? You know what I mean?
So, being the busy man that he is, Jim Ryan also speaks on the user interface of the PlayStation 5. Quote, "We haven't shown yet any of the user experience of the PlayStation 5, and there is some really cool stuff to come on that." So, cool. Hopefully we'll get to see some UI stuff soon. And lastly, through its latest PlayStation 5 feature on the PlayStation blog, Sony has confirmed that next-gen games are going to cost more money to buy. We've already seen other publishers suggest that this would be the case, but Sony's PS5 pricing list is a written confirmation. Looks like a lot of their titles will be jumping up to the $69.99 US MSRP.
And we've seen that here with the increase to the RRP of $125. Yeah. Which is, you know, the actual RRP is $109.99. So it's about a $15 increase here in Australia, which is a bit of a kick in the dick, but it's the cost of it's just the cost of everything is fucking more than compared to the US. To add to the chat, so Buddy himself says, "Yeah, I'm very keen to see the UI. What are your expectations around the UI? Like, I love the cross media. I like the cross media bar. I like what they do here.
The cross-media bar is garbage, and I hope they completely change it.
What?
I hate it.
Yeah, but like, if you go over to the Xbox sucks. I don't know where to go.
I like the Xbox's interface. I would love the Xbox interface on my PlayStation, and that would be the perfect console for me.
You get the fuck out. The Xbox is messy, it's gross, it's disgusting. I'm
super not a fan. I was really excited when they added folders to the cross-media bar. I like being able to sort everything. That was a fantastic addition. But I don't like it at all. I'm not a fan of the XMB at all.
No, I can't. Like, obviously, with my workplace, we have access.
I apologize to everyone I've offended, but it's not for me. The cross media.
So at work, I have access to Xbox and PlayStation, and every time I have to boot up an Xbox, I look at it, I'm like, what the fuck? Where am I going? How do I do things? But that's it. That could just be me not knowing, not using it. No, apparently Twitch have brought mid-rolls back, so everyone's like, there's an ad just mid-stream. I didn't do it. Apparently they brought it back. So, sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. But, yeah, like for me, I just fucking, I hate the Xbox UI. I hate it. I can't do it. It's, what the hell the fuck is wrong with you, Max? How do you use it?
You're all wrong. It's simple.
It is the opposite of simple. It is messy, and it looks like a Surface tablet, which is handy when you're using your fingers. When using a controller, it makes me want to punch myself in the front area.
No, you're all crazy.
You're crazy. All right, next up, Cyberpunk 2077. 2 new trailers have dropped during the latest Night City Wire event. One trailer being a deep dive into the city itself, because apparently there's going to show you more of the game before you can actually fucking play it. And the other being a look at the various gangs that inhabit the city. Max?
So I think this dropped this yesterday morning or this morning. Just more of the same. Another 2 long trailers, deep diving, like you said, into the city, giving us a look at the gangs, showing what...
Sorry, before getting into that, the chat is like they're on side Betson right now, and I much appreciate it. Dash, Xbox UI is fucking awful. Buddy, Xbox UI sucks. Willow, I agree with Ryan here. I looked at getting an Xbox One to play with a friend, but I hated how it looked and it was a mess, so I didn't bother. Dash, it reiterates with Max, you're wrong and you should feel bad.
No, you're all no. Can't deal. You're all crazy. Look, at the end of the day, as long as the PlayStation Store loads properly on a PS5, I'm going to be happy.
See, I've personally still never had that issue. Must be an OG PS4 thing.
Frustrating.
All right, sorry, yeah, Cyberpunk.
The game's still coming, hopefully.
Sure.
They keep showing stuff off. It's going to be good.
Yeah.
Super game.
Next, go ahead.
Yeah. Games that are apparently still coming out. Beyond Good and Evil 2. So Ubisoft released a statement earlier this week about Beyond Good and Evil 2, following the news that, forgive me if I mispronounce this, Michael Ansel,
Michelle
one of the
Ansel.
game's original... Michelle Ansel. One of the game's original creative leads is retiring from the industry. According to Ubisoft, quote, Beyond Good and Evil 2 is well underway and we are currently concentrating on core development and production milestones. The statement goes on into a little more detail. As Michelle noted, he hasn't been directly involved in Beyond Good and Evil 2 for some time now, as the team have been hard at work building on top of the solid creative foundation he helped to shape. The team's collective strength has us well on our way to developing a flagship next-generation action-adventure game. We recently passed an important internal milestone, delivering a build that proves our space pirate fantasy and offers hours of gameplay and incredible level of freedom in a seamless online sandbox. Apparently, they will have more to show next year.
Bullshit. So, last week, I'm sitting here trying to remember the name of Michel Ancel. I couldn't get it for the life of me because I talked about the Wild and the whole vaporware, how he just he just comes out with a series of ideas for games and fucks off. He's essentially the who's the guy that made Lost? What's his name? That guy. The guy from Lost. He's like, I have an idea for a show, and then fucks off. It's whatever. This game's not coming. This guy's like, here's an idea and legs it. Whatever. Sure. We're going to see Wild, and we're never going to see Beyond Good and Evil 2. The game, what they showed us the game, 3 years ago, and we haven't seen dick since.
Yeah.
Ball bags. I'm going to skip that next one because we kind of discussed that pretty heavily before. Immortal Fenix Rising, Max, as we know that Ubisoft have gone on the record and discussed the name changing of Gods and Monsters to the disgusting Immortals Fenix Rising because they said it was a better fit for the game's vision. But apparently there's a lot more to it. Video Games Chronicle reported this week the trademark documents say the name Gods and Monsters was actually opposed by the energy drink company Monster Energy. Monster Energy has ties to the games industry, of course, appearing the fuck out of Death Stranding. And we also see it be a big sponsor for esports team and events. As such, they felt as though the name Gods and Monsters would have had some impact of the recognition of its brand. Monster Energy's opposition began back in April, and by June, Ubisoft had already decided to scrap the name internally. Supposedly, the French publisher would have been able to defeat the opposition had it engaged in a legal battle, but it decided that the best idea would be to settle.
Yeah, with how much bad PR they've gotten this year, it's probably a good idea to just settle.
Yeah, but why? I don't see it. Gods and Monsters does not imply gods and fucking energy drinks.
Well, maybe that's what it is. Maybe Dionysus is sitting up on his mountaintop chugging Monster.
Yeah, I'm not thinking Zeus and Garana. That's not how the connection is in my head. They are clearly separate. And I like the second I heard about this trademark, I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. Obviously, Monster is trying to really get into that market, and they're really doubling down on game stuff. So it makes sense, but I still think this is bullshit. I think they should afford it. The new name sucks arsehole. The new name was at least better.
And then lastly, which we touched on a little bit earlier, the cross-gen titles.
I think.
Sure.
Is there anything in there that we didn't discuss?
I mean, it was just a statement from Jim Ryan saying that the games have been built from the ground up to take advantage of the PlayStation 5 feature set.
Which we touched
and that it's about people having the choice if they can't afford or can't, a lack of availability to upgrade to PS5, they will still be able to play these titles on their PlayStation.
Yeah. So while you get ready for the quick bits, because as we said at the start of the show, we do record this show live on Twitch, and we just had a follow from Claz274. Thank you, Claz, for the follow. Hope you enjoyed the show.
So quick bits. Rocket League had an update earlier this week, giving it a menu and UI update ahead of its going free to play as of the 23rd of this month.
Woo!
We spoke about this earlier. Marvel Spider-Man has been completely remastered for PlayStation 5, available in a bundle with Miles Morales. Pre-ordering Spider-Man's Miles Morales will score you a new Spidey suit to use. Godfall PS5 console exclusive has gone gold this week. The Fall Guys update titled Big Yeetus has also gone live this week, and it is brilliant. They also had a fantastic Twitter thread about Cheetah's Island.
So for those who don't know, Fall Guys had this sort of setup, right? If they caught you cheating, they would sort of monitor you, right? And then, because there's no report or block system in the game, they essentially just set it up that you would only end up going onto servers with other cheaters, and just let them battle it out on a whole different space. And it's the thread.
So
they
were talking about for a while that they were just perpetually free falling while searching because there wasn't enough cheaters to all play together. And apparently earlier this week,
because it's not just cheaters,
week,
it's also cheaters in whichever region. So there's a lot of different variables in order for you to.
Yeah. So earlier this week, they think they got their first Cheaters Island only match where 60 cheaters went head to head for the crown.
I loved it because they show a clip of that maze one where you fall and you gotta get the highlighted path. They go boom, and then they finish it in a second. So hey, why the fuck are you cheating at Fall Guys, you piece of shit? Are you that much of a shit person? But also the idea of just having them battle their own island is amazing.
Brilliant. Their PR team is great.
Literally a roll of a dice every time. Maybe just boom. I didn't win. All right, cool.
As we mentioned earlier, more Final Fantasy information coming from 2021, confirmed by Square Enix. And lastly, that I forgot to put in, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 is the fastest selling game in the franchise, being the fastest to reach 1 million copies sold.
In its history. History
in the
of
franchise
the franchise.
History.
Isn't that gnarly? I'm just going to
do hopefully that means we're going to get 3 and 4.
One can own
and Underground 1 and 2.
Yeah, I think 3 and 4 is certainly a possibility.
And just stop there. Don't do Project 8. Don't do American Wasteland or whatever. Just the numbered guys. Anything with a number except for Project 8. Anything with a number is good.
All right, so just having a look at the PlayStation Australian Twitter account. There is no top selling games of the week, but I'm pretty sure it's basketball or Madden. They both came out this week. They're probably the only options that are the best. Now, Max, let's finally do what we should have done at the start of the show, but we didn't because it was too much PlayStation. What have you been playing this week? What have you been spending your time with?
I've been playing Fall Guys, obviously. Yeah. New update. I played some 2K Battlegrounds.
Yeah, so we were provided a code for WWE 2K Battlegrounds from 2K Australia. So the code came through yesterday, or that's on day of release. Max, you've spent a bit of time with it.
Yeah, I spent about 5 hours with it last night.
It's been on in my house for about 2 hours. I've played about an hour and a half. I played for about 10 minutes of that. My kid was like, oh yeah, and then he stole it from me, so I didn't really get a chance.
I like it. It's very arcadey, very simplistic. It's kind of button mashy. I haven't quite gotten the hang of all the controls yet. I'm still doing some of the tutorial stuff. I have yet to manage to throw anyone into a shark, but I have been thrown into multiple sharks. That's always fun. I think I find this game very whimsical in its more cartoon appearance of the characters themselves. I think Ryan's got a little guy in his hand.
Well, yeah,
they're very
so like
artistically styled like those.
So these are the WWE Slam Stars, right? So these were in the WWE loot, exclusive loot crate, right? I fucking love this design. So when I saw hence why I bought. I didn't buy the loot crate. I just bought these individually. I love the design, like big head, unnecessarily long limbs, shit like that. I thought it was great. So having that in the game, mad. From the little bits that I've played, there is a campaign, and in the campaign, it's like a comic book. Like they've not animated any cutscenes or anything. It's you have to read a comic book to get to the next section. So I like that. That's pretty cool. I think that's an interesting style because this is an arcadey game. It's very like over the top and silly. Like you just suddenly catch on fire and start punching people. Undertaker's choke slam is high and up in the air because I played a match between Fiend and Undertaker, and then I started the campaign. It looks alright. Like I'm getting like it is littered with microtransactions. There's like a ton of characters, but they're not all unlocked. You can earn in-game money, or you can just straight up buy them. Now the disparity between the in-game money and the money that you buy is substantial. Like it's $100 of purchase coin or 17,000 in-game earned dollars. Like it's quite a massive difference, but. Because it is, I believe it's a full price game. I'm not too sure. As I said, we were very kindly provided the code, so I've not looked into that. But yeah, it looks right. It's led in a little bit of controversy. In one of the shots, they used a picture of Tessa Blanchett, who is an Impact wrestler. So she's called them out on Twitter, and I wonder whether that's been patched. It's been patched already this morning. Version 10 point something. Holy fuck, might I add? That is substantial amount of patching. This is version 10 of this game as my camera freezes. I'm that in shock. Hang on. There we go. Version 10 is insane. Insane. So I presume the patch probably cut her out. Yeah.
Obviously, I dove into the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War.
Oh, sorry.
Alpha.
And we will have more. We will have more Battlegrounds probably next week as I spend some more time with it, as Max spends some more time with it, because obviously I'm specifically a big wrestling fan. We're on the Iconics, for fuck's sake. Like, this is my kind of game, and I want to spend some time with it over the next week. I have a lot to say next week. So if you're interested, please hang around. And yes, we've been playing the Call of Duty Alpha.
Yeah, so I dove into that when I went live this morning at 2 a.m. I played a couple of games just before we went live this afternoon. It's more of the same Call of Duty. There's some additions that I kind of like. The addition of there's a permanent health bar on your character now, or for people that you're shooting, so you know exactly how close they are to dying. You can see exactly when your bullets hit because you can see their health bar physically drop.
Yeah.
Some of the more controversial things that I think a lot of people are going to be annoyed at are shotguns are not primary weapons; they are secondary weapons. So you can run a shotgun and an assault rifle. That to me is baffling.
Why so?
Because shotguns are generally ridiculously overpowered, and to have them as a secondary weapon is kind of lame.
Okay.
Other than that, it seems to play fine. I haven't had too many hiccups for an alpha title. It seems seems to run really well.
The misuse of the term alpha and beta right now is insane. I don't understand how they do it, but not the case.
I super don't like vehicles in my Call of Duty. There's a reason why I play Call of Duty over Battlefield, and it's because there's no vehicles, but apparently I can get run over by a tank now. So there's that I've got to deal with.
Positive. I only played a handful of matches because once again my kid played fucking Battlefield, and we've been skateboarding out the back for a big hunk of the day and yesterday. So it's cool. I like the health bar is a big thing for me. Because one of the big issues that I have when I play the game is I constantly feel like I'm unloading bullets into everybody else, but I get 2 hits and I'm down. And now I have a clear representation of my aim being garbage, and so I'm like, okay, maybe I'm not, because you hear that, but like it's now I'm getting very clear visual identification of hits, and I think that's much better than just the highlighted reticle. It does make it a little bit more gamey, a little bit more like RPG a little bit. And I think there'll be many people that will have an issue with that. I think it's a big win personally. happens every time, Max. I get into the beta or an alpha or whatever for Call of Duty. I jump in there, give it a go, and I fucking own it in the beta. I'm like, yeah, Then I play it on launch, and I fucking suck. I don't know what it is, whether they tune it differently or it's just straight up luck. I somehow always monstered my way through the betas.
Willow in the chat pointed out that there will be a setting to turn off the health bar. Was confirmed the other day.
Oh, that's good to know for those.
So you can just turn it off. Yeah.
I'm a big fan of that. All the cheaters are out at launch. That could certainly be the big thing.
And lastly, I've been playing Vader Immortal. I finished up episode 3 of Vader Immortal, and boy howdy was number 3 the worst of the 3.
So, PlayStation Australia kindly provided the code to us for Vader Immortal about 3 weeks ago, and we have been doing this ongoing saga, just like Star Wars, where we have done one episode each week. So both Max and I were very hot on episode 1. It was about an hour and a half long, approximately, or just over an hour long. It was fantastic. Lightsaber combat was awesome. Second one, about 40 minutes long, a little bit less, not quite as good. And episode 3, about the same, 40-ish minutes, and it's by far the least good of the two of the 3. Sorry,
of the 3. Yeah. So personally, my favorite was in fact number 2. I enjoyed the addition of the use of the Force powers.
Mm-hmm.
Number 3 picked up right where number 2 left off, same as episode 2 picked up right where episode 1 left off. So the continuation is very good. There was no climbing mechanics in this one, so there wasn't any real jankiness that happened in the first 2 episodes, where sometimes you get stuck trying to climb up objects or any of that stuff. There were some cool set pieces in episode 3. Pardon me. Where I believe you fight now correct me if I'm wrong here. I'm terrible with my Star Wars knowledge. Pretty sure I was shooting a TIE fighter with a minigun at some point.
Yep.
Awesome. That whole boss sequence was actually really cool. I thoroughly enjoyed that. Through all the essential waves of stormtroopers that I had to fight, I tended to be quite lazy and kind of just force throw them off their ships as opposed to using my lightsaber to deflect. There were times where you could force pull their guns out of their hands and use the blasters to shoot them, but I found that the blasters were super inaccurate. I don't know if it was just me being bad or if it was just hard to aim, but I very rarely hit any of them with the bullets. Apparently I'm also a stormtrooper, can't aim. But yeah, it felt like such a lackluster ending to what it led up to. I expected it to be some kind of epic thing, and it kind of just fell short. Like, you do get to have that big duel, and it was over in seconds.
Yeah, so I'm in the same boat as you. This is by far the weakest of the 3. There were set pieces, like one where you fight a TIE fighter with essentially a rail laser gun. You're on a skiff going through a series of tunnels, and stormtroopers come at you on their own skiffs. Then at the back end, you do take on Darth Vader. That's the big thing. You fight him at the end. It felt short. It felt shorter than the second one. As you said, once you saw it, like now that you've got the combination of lightsaber and force power, you're kind of just like gaming the game, if that makes sense. I'm just like, I deflect the bolt and I just choke a dude and throw him into the dude, and then there's the introduction of other weaponry like the blasters and the thermal detonators. I'm just like, and like they said, the blaster it didn't seem like it hit. I even felt like the lightsaber wasn't working. Like, granted, my move controls were like low battery, so that could have been a problem. Probably was a problem, but. Even the final boss, right? Like the final battle, you take on Darth Vader. No fucking spoilers. The game's been out forever on Oculus. It felt lackluster. Like I somehow deflected like 2 of his hits, but it continued as if I won. Like there wasn't like any consequence for it. Like it was very clearly, here's a scripted encounter. No matter how it goes, you're gonna push through. And because there is no difficulty from what I recall. And then even with the TIE Fighter, right? Like, I'm trying to deflect the bullets, and I'm not deflecting them back to where they're supposed to be. Because, as I said, I felt the deflection was off in this one. I don't know whether it was me, or my move controls being garbage, or the camera wasn't right. I wasn't winning. And then I got a couple of right hits, and then it almost was like, I will just let you progress. And it was disappointing, because, like I said, it started with such good promise. It's like, this is going to be amazing. Like, I want to play every one of these episodes. Like, the reason I staggered them over the 3-week period was for us to be like, it's going to be so much awesome. I want to drift it. I want to spread it out. I want to spend 3 weeks praising this game. And I felt that we spent a week praising this game, and the other 2 weeks kind of just being aware of it. It was really disappointing. And like, you asked, like, we were talking at the beginning before the show started, like, will we see more of this game? And I'm like, I don't think we will. I don't think we'll see any more Star Wars, like, in terms of this series.
It's interesting because the way it ended, you could definitely see them doing something else with it. Because obviously, you get you get a piece of crystal at the start in episode 1, I believe you get it, and at episode 3, you put it inside the hilt of your light sword, and it shows a star map.
Yeah, it's not a lightsaber; it's a light sword. It's
and they're like, and your little droid buddy's like, hey, this looks like a
treasure map.
A treasure map.
Yeah.
So you get in your pilot's seat, and your droid looks at you, and they're like, we're ready to jump into hyperspace. Punch it. And I'm like, I'm not Chewbacca. Don't tell me to punch it. And then I punched it anyway, and off we went. And then it ended. I'm like, okay, that was.
Look,
cool,
from a lore perspective, it was cool. Like, they added a lot more sort of surrounding information to Mustafar, and sort of some situations that were going on there, or why Vader was there and what he wanted to do there. Like, it's awesome. Like, that part I really enjoyed. Like, adding this whole background to this planet that we know about. Like, that's where Anakin became Darth Vader. So it's very awesome. Like, it's awesome that it's been connected to this bigger, grander sort of setup. But yeah, that's probably that's better. Like, anything else you've been playing?
No, not really, man. Just, the games that I play every week. I've been playing some League of Legends, stuff like that, but nothing too crazy.
I haven't jumped into Red Dead Redemption like I wanted. I've been playing Ratchet and Clank instead. With Rift in Time, coming out later in the year, presumably, if not the start of next year. I was like, well, I've never finished Ratchet and Clank. It's cool. The game's fun, man. It's cool. It's very mindless. I'm skipping all the cutscenes because like I've seen all this part before. I'm just playing with podcasts or music, and I'm just like hacking my way through it. The game looks amazing. Like the use of the nuts and bolts and the pixel effects. The what's it called? Not pixel effects. It's the same thing they used in the game from Housemarque. It'll come to me.
Oh, the voxels.
Thank you. Yeah, using the sort of voxels with the nuts and bolts is very cool. The game's pretty rad. I will see it through, but then I said next Resi 4, man, it's happening. Resi 4. You got to get through that. All right, Max. Now that's the games that we've played this week. Let's get to the section we call Coming to the Players, where we tell you what games are coming out this week. And I guarantee you, once again, the PlayStation blog still has not been updated.
I'm not even going to bother because I don't think
I will have a look while you pull that up. I can confirm that according to the PlayStation blog, The Drop, the last game to come out was still Star Wars Episode 1 Racer.
So games coming out this week. Not a whole bunch. We've got 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim coming out on September 22nd. We have Going Under, September 24. We have Port Royale 4, September 25. We have Mafia Definitive Edition, September 25.
What a surprise! Like I forgot that. In my head, that game was like way down the track.
That's it.
Damn. So I guess Mafia's probably the only really big one here, right?
Yeah, it seems to be.
Should we check it out?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm hoping it's because this is the big definitive remake one. This is the one that they no. This.
All right, I'll email 2K on Monday morning. We'll give it a bell. Because I played 2. 2 was very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. So hopefully this one it's bigger, it's grander, it's better. That's what we can hope. Anyway, that brings us to the end of the show. It's been awesome to finally get all this PS5 information. We are heading into that next generation, and thank you all for joining us as we do that. We're excited. We both got our pre-orders. We're ready. We're keen. We're good to go. You know, the second I can, I'll be talking to PlayStation Australia and be like, "Hey man, how's it going? We have, you know, let's keep this love going that we've been having. Let's get some Demon Souls action. Let's you know, let's keep going." But anyways, yeah, let's wrap it out, Max. Let's finish this bad boy up.
This PlayStation conversation happens every Monday morning at 8 a.m. on podcast services, including Spotify, and 9 a.m. on these YouTubes. If you'd like to take part in future conversations, please check out our socials: Facebook, Discord, Instagram, Twitter. All of our links are in the description below.
If you want to join the conversation as it happens, head over to twitch.tv/thepopcultures, where you can watch us record this show live, where you can take part in the chat and you can help contribute to the overall show. Speaking of, we did receive 2 follows this week from Claz274 and BC's Movie Shelf. Big thank you to the follow. It's very, very kind of you. If you want to support the show, you can. You can tell your friends, you can tell your family about this PlayStation pod. If you listen to us on the Apple podcast, be sure to give us a 5-star rating and a written review. Sorry, my son's broken in. You give us a 5-star rating and a written review. If you watch us on YouTube, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, comment below. I do my very best to answer every single comment. And of course, you want to support us financially, patreon.com/thepopculturist, as well as our merchandise store, popculturist.com/shop, where you can buy shirts and other assorted shit with our logos on it. But until next week, I'm Ryan Betson.
I'm Max Cooper.
And that was For the Players. Are you right? We're coming in making a racket. You're going to play wrestling now?
Yeah.
Okay. For the Players, the Pop Culturist PlayStation podcast is fan-supported at patreon.com/thepopculturist. And we'd like to thank our Patreon producers and our Patreon founders for their kindness, their support, and their generosity. Our Patreon founders: Alpha Ferret, Craig O'Flaherty, David Chataway, Jesse Stevenson, and Jacob Garner. And our Patreon producers: Damien Holdies, Lee Wintershoven, Sean Levitt, and Solomon Barak.